Okay, so here's my video about The Prince, which is the book that I read for this third quarter classics project. So to start, The Prince is just we'll start by talking about the author. So the author is this Italian man named Niccolo Machiavelli, who actually lived from 1469 to 1527. So he's back from like the Renaissance times. And basically he lived in Florence, which is a city in Italy, and he worked in the government of Florence. He was born without a lot of money, but he eventually got to working there. He got promoted, and at the age of, I think, 29, yeah, he became the head of the Second Chancery, which just meant that he was one of the big diplomats that went on foreign missions. So he went to like about 40 different royal courts around Europe during the time, including the courts of France and the Pope and the Holy Roman Empire and a bunch of other places. So he knew a lot about politics and government. And his most famous works are The Prince, The Art of War, and this book called Discourses, which is a history. So basically, The Prince, which I read, is it was originally written in Italian, of course, back in the day, and they translated it to English, and it's a compilation of advice, I guess, towards a hypothetical prince, which is any ruler of a country. So you could be a duke or a king or an emperor. He just referred to you as a prince. So he's talking about if a prince wants to be successful with the military or with pleasing his citizens, or how he dealt with the like religion, or how he kept power, how he gained power, how to take over new places, all that. He talked about that in this book. And it's all advice that's given for the prince's benefit. But the thing is, the advice is kind of not moral. It was kind of like he didn't say the phrase, the ends justify the means, but that's basically how the book is written, is no matter what, he basically do whatever you need to do to get ahead, even if it's not the right thing to do it for your own success. And so since he talked about that a lot in the book, and he also criticized a lot of the people in Europe for the way they had been handling things, and he brought up a bunch of examples of what not to do, which made a lot of people mad because he was talking about people who might still be in power at the time. And he also talked about a lot of historical examples, but he talked a lot about people who were still in power. And so he criticized the Catholic Church and the Pope, which because of those kind of things, and because of the fact that he wasn't exactly presenting things morally, a lot of people accused him of being an atheist, and they thought he was a pretty bad guy because he kind of said, do whatever you have to do to get ahead and don't have any regard for what's right and wrong, basically. So he kind of got in trouble for that. And his book is serious, but it's not completely all the time. So sometimes it's kind of satirical, like he's making fun of politics, just like satire does. So because of that, this is maybe one of the first works of satire, which brings me to the themes. One of the major themes in the book is relating historical facts, like historical accounts, to modern day things. And another theme is about how human beings are innately bad, and the prince has to be wary of the fact that people are selfish and use their selfishness to his advantage. And then it is, of course, a little bit satirical. So for the last section, the synthesis, the prince influenced a ton of political philosophy for all the years since it came out in 1532. It was released right after his death. If you remember, he died a little earlier than that in 1527, so it came out 5 years after he died. But it also inspired political satire, so like The Onion, if you know what that is, like the fake newspaper, or shows like The Colbert Report, which doesn't come on anymore, but anything that's like making fun of the government, basically, he kind of had a foot in that, had a hand in that. And it just provides a really good historical account of the political landscape and what was going on at the time. So basically, he gave a really good understanding of the politics of Italy and France and like Switzerland and Germany and stuff during the end of the 1400s, beginning of the 1500s. And it's influenced a lot of works for the past like 500 years, and it's really caused a little bit of controversy at the time. It's not as controversial now, but it's really famous, and Machiavelli is really famous for it. He's one of the most famous political philosophers of all time, and that is The Prince. which I read. So